Spoiler warning. We're going into it. So the plot is we get to see Apocalypse back during ancient Egypt in 3200 BCE, and we see the massive pyramid built, and we have Apocalypse inside after his procession, and we get to see that he's old, haggard, and he's got his 4 horsemen at that time with him. And what's going on is, a body transfer, essentially. Apocalypse apparently survives through the ages by transferring his essence and his consciousness and everything into a new body once the other one wears out. Why he's doing it in this particular instance is that it's a mutant with a healing factor, like a really good, strong healing factor, and basically that's where we get introduced to Oscar Isaac, who's basically starts out laying on a slab, half naked. But there's this big whole scene in the beginning is a giant transfer of power and everything into this new body, so he can have regenerative abilities now. Because when he transfers bodies, he gains all the mutant powers from the old host, and it stays with him when he transfers. And that's why he's amassed so many abilities. I like the way they explained that in this. That why he has all these abilities, not he was just a mutant who had like omnipresent powers that can do anything and everything. They have a rhyme and reason for it this time. So I liked that. What I didn't like was the way they do the power transfer. Basically, there's a giant pyramid in the middle of this ancient city, and it has a capstone on it, and the capstone is made of like gold and stuff, and it catches sunlight, and when it does, it triggers some kind of like energy effect. So it's like circuitry almost going throughout the entirety of the pyramid. So it hits this capstone, and it's just, and the energy thing goes traveling down, and then the inner walls of the fucking pyramid are like circuitry, and the energy is going through the whole thing, all the walls, all the way through the floor, and it instigates the power transfer and the consciousness transfer, whatever, on these two kind of platforms, and that's how it's powered. Here's why this is stupid. If the reason an Apocalypse has lasted so long is that he transfers bodies, okay, that's fine. We don't know what his original mutant ability was, but we don't need everything. But given the extent they're having to go through for this transfer, my question is, how the fuck did they do it the first time? Because I don't think he had all these powers to make these massive pyramids with these gold capstones and to just do a new body whenever he wanted. So that's kind of a weird plot hole, because that's why I was thinking as I watched this, I'm like, so he has to go through all of this just to transfer bodies. Build a pyramid, build a capstone, make sure that the circuitry kind of that's like capstone with circuitry-ish things that connects to the other circuitry-ish walls that have to be intricately designed to work in tandem with each other. And then has to work with these two platforms that, again, have these etchings and everything for the energy to go into the transfer thing. That whole overcomplicated system is how he transfers bodies. I don't know how the hell he would have the ability to do that the very first time, much less the next couple times after that. I'm sure he had some powers, but I don't think he had an entire fucking civilization under his thumb at that point. It makes no sense. I know we're not supposed to ask these questions, but I do. So I think it's just way overcomplicated the way they did that. I didn't like that part. But the concept is fine, and I think it works for Apocalypse. It's just the way they do it was so stupid and over the top. Look, Egypt! Kind of thing. So he gets betrayed, and they end up, some of the people that were his guards, pretty much instigating a coup, and trapped him and the horsemen within the pyramid, which led to the fights he was talking about where people are having, stones fall on them and everything. They collapsed the pyramid, basically. And as the pyramid's collapsing, one of the horsemen manages to protect Apocalypse after the transfer's done. He just doesn't able to be completely awoken from the transfer because the transfer wasn't fully completed. It was there, but didn't give him the energy to wake up. So he's protected by this horseman, and under all this rubble from the tomb and everything, so this whole pyramid just kind of collapsing. So we cut in the 1980s, and we are in Egypt, and we're seeing Moira Taggart following a couple of guys with some tattoos on their necks. And these tattoos are reminiscent of Apocalypse's symbol, which was all over the place in the beginning of the film, including the capstone. And she's following them through this restaurant, and then there's a little, carpet and a little tunnel leading down into where the tomb is, after everything had collapsed. And there's a group of people down there, and they're worshiping Apocalypse and everything, because of course they would. Why not? crazy religious people. So she's down there taking pictures and everything because she's been studying up on this legend of the first mutant, something she's really interested in. So she's down there in this temple, taking her pictures and their hieroglyphs and everything, and there's the capstone. While she's there, there's the group of men standing there doing their little chanting and worshiping and whatnot. And sunlight reaches through this tunnel into the chamber, strikes the capstone, and starts charging with energy, and then sends the energy through the rubble, because even though it's all broken up, as long as the little like carvings are touching each other, technically I guess the energy could still work through it down to where Apocalypse was, and finally finish the process and wake him up. So okay, you have these worshippers of Apocalypse, who I'm sure would at least know about the capstone and the pyramid and all this other stuff. And this tunnel is a straight shot down to the chamber, and obviously had a straight connection to sunlight where it could hit the capstone. And I'm sure they wanted their god awake since they're worshiping him. How the hell is it that for 5,000 years no one thought to just move the floorboards, or just move the boards, or whatever they had covering the hole? I forget, it was just wood. And who didn't think once to move that and let sunlight get down in there to wake him up, since they worshipped him so much? It makes no sense. It shouldn't have taken 5,000 years. Once that chamber was found, the first time, the moment it was found, they got down that tunnel, they should have said, hey, we want to wake up our god. How do we do this? The Mummy did a lot of stuff with lighting up chambers with mirrors. You could have reflected sunlight in and woken them up. Or just left the fucking wood off of the entryway. This movie would have happened a lot sooner. Maybe, sure, but it just makes no sense where it was so easily accessible sunlight to the capstone, which would have woken them up. So these people were sitting there praying for no reason. So basically they worshipped the god that they didn't want to wake up. It just makes no sense. It bugged me a little bit, just because narratively it's so stupid that it didn't happen sooner. It's implausible that it would have happened sooner. I don't know. But going away from that bit of a headache, we're going to talk about Magneto for a minute here. After the events of the last movie, Magneto is married and has a daughter. And he's working at a metal factory, smelting and stuff like that. And he's living a nice life, trying to live amongst humans and be good. There's an accident at work, and he uses his powers to avert someone dying. It's like this big smelting container unlatches and about crushes somebody. He stops it and moves it over. Some people see it, and they report it to the police. So the police come after him. They come with no medals on them and with wood bow and arrows. They had taken his daughter to kind of flush him out, and him and his wife show up. He's willingly giving himself up at this point. Just says, let my daughter go. So he goes in, he's willingly getting arrested to be taken away, and his daughter's freaking out. They had a talk earlier about, his parents being taken away by bad people. Now he's being taken away by what she perceives as bad people, and she starts freaking out. And she's a mutant, who apparently has powers to control wildlife or birds or something. I don't know, but she can't control her powers. She's a child. So these birds are flying all around these guys, and they still, standing there with their bow and arrows, trying to dodge these birds. Magneto can't do anything about it. The mother's trying to calm him down. She's got the daughter like this, looking at her, trying to calm her down. Well, some dipshit still had the bow in his hand, lets loose by accident, and the arrow pierces the daughter through the back and the wife through the chest, killing them both instantly. Yeah, this movie does not shy away from that. I mean, you see the arrow going, and you see the moment of impact. Doesn't need the blood to be effective, that's for sure. It was effective. And the birds fly away and everything kind of goes into slow motion. Magneto goes towards them. The cops are like, what the fuck did you do? Why did you let go? What happened? And, you know, Magneto's sitting there cradling his dead wife and child, pulls off the locket that has the picture of his parents in it they had given her earlier on, opens his hand, and basically uses it as a bullet to go through every single one of their necks, killing them all. And that's why we have the motivation we do for why he returns to Apocalypse. And it's a good motivation. It's sad. And it's effective, and, you know, that sense of him never really getting to experience happiness. He tries, and it gets taken away from him. You know, his parents, his wife, his child. So it's a good tragedy, and I'm not saying it was needed, but for this, it was to contrast the whole living with humans, since humans kind of accept mutants a little bit more now, since the events from the last movie. I mean, you really feel sorry for him in this movie. You do, and you understand why he does what he does. And it really makes it all the more sweet near the end when he is able to turn away and come back. So let's talk about Nightcrawler for a minute. Nightcrawler and Angel are introduced at the same time. Mystique is in Berlin, and there's like an underground like fight club thing going on. There's a cage, and they're having mutant fights. In the cage, when you first show up, is Angel fighting what I'm assuming is the Blob. You don't see the Blob for long. He's beaten pretty much. He just kind of falls over, done, and then they kind of have to carry him out. So we got to see the Blob in a movie. So yeah, after he beats the Blob, they bring in the next fighter, who's inside of a trunk that's wrapped in like fencing and wire and stuff. And they kind of dump him out, and it's Nightcrawler. And I like the Nightcrawler makeup. I like the guy that did Nightcrawler. Did a good job. Here's my problem. They start doing this fight. He tries to escape. He finds out, and he's like popping all over the place, you know, whatever. And he goes to pop out of the cage, or at least he pops towards the cage wall there because it's fencing. Looks like a dome, and it's electrified. And basically, you gotta fight or they'll shoot you, kind of thing. So him and Angel start doing the fight. He actually throws Angel up against it, and it fries one of his wings, so he can't really fly well anymore. Things kind of start going, coming to a head there. Mystique overcharges the cage to where it overloads, and they're able to escape. And then during this escape, Mystique's helping him out. Angel escapes on his own. She's trying to help him out, and they escape through his teleportation from inside the building to outside the building. So, okay. Why couldn't he fucking escape on his own? There was nothing stopping him. Because they explain later on, he has to at least be able to see or know where he is going. So if it's somewhere he's been before, he can go there. If he can see it, he can go there. So he's in this cage that is just fencing. It's a dome cage with fencing all over through it, so you can see through it. You can fit a few fingers through the little fencing, so you could fit through there. Fine. Why couldn't he teleport through that? Because of electricity? I don't remember that being a weakness of his power. It makes no sense. The scene shouldn't happen. It should be, he is dumped out, though how that doesn't work, how that worked, I don't get either. How he was still trapped in there and he could still pop through it anyway, I would think. No, I guess not. But he is tossed out to where he can see out to the people, see outside of the ring, see where people are sitting, where the audience is, and he can't go, okay, you see that door up there? Poof, I'm there. Because the fence is electrified? I mean, sure, later on we find out that the government has technology to suppress mutant powers, but that's not what this is as far as I know, because Angel can still use his wings, and inside this cage, Nightcrawler can still use his teleportation ability. So this doesn't cancel powers, and if that's the case, why couldn't he leave? I'm sorry, it bugs me. It's so stupid. He should have been able to escape. They should not have stopped him. I don't get it. I really just don't like plot holes like that. Obvious ones. It's stupid. It's bad writing. And it's one of them things about this movie that bugged the fuck out of me so bad. That I'm sitting here like this in the theater. And I'm saying to myself, why doesn't he just teleport out? Why doesn't he just teleport out? Fucking teleport out. And then you see throughout the movie, they can transfer from inside the building to the outside of the building. So you can transfer from like 5 feet through a fencing. No, it's not how it works. I'm harping on that too much. We'll move on. So William Stryker's in this movie, and he is played by Josh Hillman, and that's how we get the Weapon X project, and that's how we get the mutant suppression technology. So for some reason, we detoured from the school, which is blown up, by the way, and we'll get to the blowing up in a minute, but the school's blown up, and the military comes in saying, you know, we're going to provide aid or whatever, and they stun everyone there except for Nightcrawler, Jean, and Scott, who were off near the rubble. And they take away Mystique, Moira, Beast, and Quicksilver. I couldn't think for a minute there. Take them away, and then Jean Grey manages to sneak the other two on to the helicopter. But we had to leave what was left of the Xavier School to go to the Weapon X program at the base with Stryker, because we had to figure out a way to get a vehicle for them to fly using and for them to get suits. That was the only reason. They take the characters to this secret base, which is where we have Wolverine, and he gets let out by Jean Grey to be a distraction, more or less. So she kind of ends up killing a lot of people. And I would say inadvertently, but you know, you're gonna do it's Wolverine, you can't really control him. But all of that just to get a stealth helicopter, stealth jet kind of thing, and flight suits. You know, you could have cut that out and it'd been fine for the most part. I mean, yeah, considering how they wrote things, you kind of needed a way to get the jet and to get the suits, but even still, could have done something else with it, I think. That's me. It just felt like a weird detour. Like a not really much needed one, except for these two specific things they need that they can't get to at the mansion anymore. And let's talk about that real quick, too. So, Xavier's school gets blown up partway through the movie. And it's blown up because Havoc is trying to stop Apocalypse from kidnapping Xavier after he tried to use Xavier, or after he used Xavier to influence people around the world while he was in Cerebro to launch all the nuclear missiles out into space, just to disarm the world. And he's kidnapping him, or uses Magneto to drag the chair through to kidnap him and teleport him out. Havoc goes up, blasts him, or blasts at him. They disappear. He goes past them, through the doorways, to where Hank was building a jet for the X-Men project, and he hits an exposed area where the engines are, which causes the explosion. So that's why we don't have a jet from the X-Men. They have to go to the base to get one, because they had one at least being worked on, and Havoc shot it and destroyed it. The suits, because X-Men have suits, they have to do that. They couldn't do that because, again, blowing up the whole thing. So Quicksilver shows up, and he goes inside, and I guess he notices there's an explosion going somehow, and he goes in and saves everybody except Havoc, because Havoc was the closest to the blast, so Havoc's dead. So another of the original X-Men from the first class movie is dead. So that leaves us with Xavier, Magneto, Moira, Mystique, and Beast as the remaining living people from first class at this point. Yeah. They kind of just killed off Havoc quick and easy. I mean, Havoc was there, but he's kind of a side character, didn't do too much in this movie. He did destroy Cerebro to stop Apocalypse from going any farther than his plan, but for some reason, Havoc gets gun happy and blasts blindly, knowing that these people can teleport because they see it happen, and then blows everything and himself up. So yeah, that wasn't the best plan. So wrapping this all up now, I like the movie. I do suggest you go see it. The stuff I griped about in the spoiler section are just things that aggravate me from a narrative standpoint for the most part. They're shot nicely, they're acted nicely. That isn't the problem. It's just narratively they make no sense from the world they've built. And it just kind of throws things off from a common sense standpoint in that universe, and just from a writing standpoint, some of the stuff that made sense, didn't make sense, and that made me aggravated at it. But I still enjoyed the movie, and I would very easily say it's better than most of the other X-Men movies that have come out prior in its trilogy. Again, I don't know how good Days of Future Past is, because I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's pretty good. I enjoyed First Class. And while I still enjoy, the original X-Men movie and X2 even, I really didn't like X3, and I really had no urge to see Wolverine, and X-Men Origins. Wolverine, come on. Ugh. Out of all the different movies they've had, this is one of the better ones. So go see it. It's definitely worth your time. While the main villain isn't the best executed, it's fine for the most part as a big, omniscient kind of bad guy. But the character developments work really well, I think. But the stuff I didn't mention in the spoiler stuff is I didn't mention everything. I didn't mention the climax or anything like that. So there's still stuff there that if you stop around for the spoiler stuff, I didn't explain, so you can still go and enjoy the movie. There is a Stan Lee cameo. It's quick, and it's kind of just... It's not Tony Stank. So it's not anywhere close to the Tony Stank or the Deadpool, DJ scene or anything like that, or the Amazing Spider-Man, library scene. It's nowhere near that good. It's kind of quick. He's just kind of standing there hugging, and I think that was his actual wife in the movie, standing there looking up. So there's your Stan Lee cameo. I didn't really ruin much. It's 3 seconds, and it doesn't really do anything. It's not even funny. It's just kind of there. And there is an after credit scene, so wait till after the credits for the final scene. And that will bring this episode's Zandrous Reviews to an end. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Also, don't forget to join me for the next video. So until then, my name is Zandrous, and as always, please remember, stay awesome. Till next time.